Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Tommy Nation Politics.
And that's about all I have to say tonight, except for one thing. The past few days, when I've been at that window upstairs, I've thought a bit of the shining city upon a hill. The phrase comes from John Winthrop, who wrote it to describe the America he imagined. What he imagined was important because he was an early pilgrim, an early freedom man. He journeyed here on what today we'd call a little wooden boat. And like the other pilgrims, he was looking for a home that would be free. I've spoken of the shining city all my political life, but I don't know if I ever quite communicated what I saw when I said it. But in my mind, it was a tall, proud city built on rocks stronger than oceans, windswept, God-blessed, and teeming with people of all kinds living in harmony and peace.
We animals are brothers, large or small, clever or simple, fur or feathers. Now and forever, all animals are equal.
What's up, guys? Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How y'all doing today? I hope we're all doing good. Some of us have eyes that do not hear, and ears that do not see, and eyes that don't see, ears that don't hear. It's up to us to be free-thinking, innovative, and totally open-minded at all times. Or we can shut our eyes. Or we can choose not to see.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today?
But he left one final warning.
1984 is, I believe, a quite terrifying masterpiece. So terrifying, in fact, I don't think I should like to read another like it.
I am not absolutely dissatisfied with it. I think it is a good idea, but the execution would have been better if I had not been under the influence of TB when I wrote it.
You once claimed that you have an ability to face unpleasant facts. Is that what you've demonstrated in 1984 by drawing an accurate portrait of the future?
I think that allowing for the book being, after all, a parody, something like 1984 could actually happen. This is the direction the world is going in at the present time.
You're watching MSNBC breaking coverage, and we are looking at the floor of the United States House, where, as you can see, 250 members of Congress voting on the big issue of the day, whether to begin a full investigation of the January 6th insurrection. 175 on the right there in opposition, 35 Republicans voting with the Democratic majority here. You can see the clear majority. This has not been gavelled into a final vote yet, but we can see, of course, the outlines of support to do this commission. 175 Republicans, the bulk of the party, opposing the commission, and this all comes after a busy and turbulent couple days where Republican leadership turned not only on the commission, but on their own negotiators. We're watching.
In our world, there will be no emotions except fear, rage, triumph, and self-abasement. The sex instinct will be eradicated. We shall abolish the orgasm. There will be no loyalty except loyalty to the party.
Watching some business there, you can see right near it looks like, if I believe I'm seeing correctly, it looks like we're seeing the speaker approach the lectern there at the gavel. Let's listen in.
On this vote, the yeas are 252, the nays are 175. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
And there you have it. Speaker Pelosi gaveling in the vote as expected. Democrats passing this largely party line with about 30-something Republicans. We saw the gavel there still next to a nicely appointed bottle of sanitizer, a 2021 moment. And to take this in and understand how a congressional investigation like this works, former prosecutor and a counsel to multiple congressional probes, John Flannery, former special counsel as well as the Senate Judiciary Committee, joins us. He's been providing a legal analysis on more than one story tonight. John, it is so easy to get lost in all of the dribs and drabs. Let's take a step back and walk us through first what it means that the United States House has now taken this step to have a full investigation beyond and apart from the criminal prosecutions, which happen in a different branch of government, to deal with the attack that also occurred in that very building.
Well, I think the significance is not only that the Democrats carried the day, which was expected, without anybody apparently stepping back from that proposition. And despite the fact that the Republicans did step back, McCarthy, the minority leader, stepped back from an agreement that seemed to be in place, meaning that they were cowed again by Trump, the orange menace from the West Wing. And he still has this power over the Republicans. Now, the Democrats probably whipped their vote, or maybe didn't have to do much, but no one could whip them to vote for it of the 35 Republicans who did. And so I think that's a strong statement that all is not well in the big lie, which is a critical aspect of what the commission's going to look at. And I find that encouraging. Now we go from here to the Senate, and the question is, are we going to get the 60 votes, or is there going to be a motion among the Democrats to pass this on a majority vote And in the past, Manchin and others have resisted that. But this is such an important thing, I would hope they do it. And we've heard through the day people who draw strength from the fact that the 9/11 Commission did its work and answered questions that they had, those who suffered and lost people and cared about what this nation did. And this commission has become that we want independent, respected people to arrange a staff to do some very careful studies and to tell us what happened on that day, not just what we all know, but who, if anyone, did more, who betrayed their office, for instance. What was the president doing from the time he told people to go to the Hill? What was he doing in the White House? There are a lot of questions, but those are the questions that be answered by the commission. And ritual is important.
But always there will be the intoxication of power. Always, at every moment, there will be the thrill of victory, the sensation of trampling on an enemy who is helpless. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. The moral to be drawn from this dangerous nightmare situation is a simple one. Don't let it happen. It depends on you.
Ritual is how we move forward, how we respect the body, the commission in this case, that would tell us what they found. And there may be criticisms if they make errors. But in the past, we've had some terrific commissioners. Rick Ben-Veniste is a good friend of mine, and he would be one of my models of people who participated, because he not only as an individual worked on it, he also helped bring people together to understand things that were going on. And so he was part of that. Those kinds of people are what we need for this commission, to send a word to America that democracy is sound, autocracy is not accepted, and that you can't challenge the government
Democracy
by
is
threatening
sound.
to take out the speaker or the vice president and have nothing happen afterwards.
It was a threat to
In the
democracy.
low-ceilinged canteen deep underground, the lunch queue jerked slowly forward. The room was already very full and
You know,
deafeningly
guys,
noisy. From the grill at the counter,
we're
the
halfway
steam
there.
of stew came pouring forth with a sour metallic smell which did not quite overcome the fumes of Victory gin. On the far side of the room there was a small bar, a mere hole in the wall where gin could be bought at 10 cents the large nip. "Just the man I was looking for," said a voice at Winston's back. He turned round. It was his friend Syme, who worked in the research department. Perhaps friend was not exactly the right word. You did not have friends nowadays, you had comrades. But there were some comrades whose society was pleasanter than that of others. Syme was a philologist, a specialist in newspeak. Indeed, he was one of the enormous team of experts now engaged in compiling the 11th edition of the Newspeak Dictionary. He was a tiny creature, smaller than Winston, with dark hair and large protuberant eyes, at once mournful and derisive, which seemed to search your face closely while he was speaking to you. "I wanted to ask you whether you'd got any razor blades," he said. "Not one," said Winston with a sort of guilty haste. "I've tried all over the place. They don't exist any longer." Fewer words, and the range of consciousness always a little smaller. Even now, of course, there's no reason or excuse for committing thought crime. It's merely a question of self-discipline, reality control. But in the end, there won't even be a need for that. The revolution will be complete when the language is perfect. Newspeak is Ingsoc, and Ingsoc is Newspeak, he added in a sort of mystical satisfaction. Has it ever occurred to you, Winston, that by the year 2050, at the very latest, not a single human being will be alive who can understand such a conversation as we are having now? Except, began Winston doubtfully, and he stopped. It had been on the tip of his tongue to say, "except the proles," but he checked himself, not feeling fully certain that this remark was not in some way unorthodox. Syme, however, divined what he was about to say. "The proles are not human beings," he said carelessly. "By 2050, earlier probably, all real knowledge of Old Speak will have disappeared. The old literature of the past will have been destroyed. Chaucer, Shakespeare, Milton, Byron, they'll only exist in Newspeak versions, not merely changed into something different, but actually changed into something contradictory of what they used to be. Even the literature of the party will change. Even the slogans will change. How can you have a slogan like 'freedom is slavery' when the concept of freedom has been abolished? The whole climate of thought will be different. In fact, there will be no thought, as we understand it now. Orthodoxy means not thinking, not needing to think. Orthodoxy is unconsciousness. One of these days, thought Winston with sudden deep conviction, Simon will be vaporized. He's too intelligent. He sees too clearly and speaks too plainly. The party does not like such people. One day, he will disappear. It is written in his face. Winston had finished his bread and cheese. He turned a little sideways in his chair to drink his mug of coffee. At the table to his left, the man with the strident voice was still talking remorselessly away. A young woman who was perhaps his secretary, and who was sitting with her back to Winston, was listening to him and seemed to be eagerly agreeing with everything he had to say. From time to time, Winston caught some remarks such as, "I think you're so right. I do so agree with you," uttered in a youthful and rather silly feminine voice. But the other voice never stopped for an instant, even when the girl was speaking. Winston knew the man by sight, though he knew no more about him than he had held some important post in the fiction department. He was a man of about 30, with a muscular throat and a large mobile mouth. His head was thrown back a little, and because of the angle at which he was sitting, his spectacles caught the light and presented to Winston 2 blank discs instead of eyes. What was slightly horrible was that from the stream of sound that poured out of his mouth, it was almost impossible to distinguish a single word. Just once Winston caught a phrase, "complete and final elimination of Goldsteinism," jerked out very rapidly, and as it seemed, all in one piece, like a line of type cast solid. For the rest, it was just a noise, a quack, quack, quacking. And yet, though you could not actually hear what the man was saying, you could not be in any doubt of its general nature. He might be denouncing Goldstein and demanding sterner measures against thought criminals and saboteurs. He might be fulminating against the atrocities of the Eurasian army. He might be praising Big Brother or the heroes of the Malabar Front. It made no difference. Whatever it was, you could be certain that every word of it was pure orthodoxy, pure Ingsoc. As he watched his eyeless face with the jaw moving rapidly up and down, Winston had a curious feeling that this was not a real human being, but some kind of dummy.
George Orwell's writings have experienced a spike in popularity over the past decade, and for a simple reason. Modern societies are becoming ever more like the dystopia depicted in Orwell's most famous book, 1984. Whether it be mass surveillance, the incessant use of propaganda, perpetual war, or the cult of personality surrounding political leaders, it is not surprising that many see Orwell's novel as prescient in many ways. With that said, the West remains much freer than the dystopian society of 1984, but the trend does not bode well for those who favor a free society. Orwell, in fact, believed that totalitarianism of the type he satirized in his novel was a distinct possibility for the West, and at times he went as far as to suggest that it may in fact be inevitable. Almost certainly, he wrote in 1940, we are moving into an age of totalitarian dictatorships. In this video, we will look at what caused Orwell's pessimism, focusing on 2 trends in particular, the move toward collectivism and the rise of hedonism. Collectivism is a doctrine or set of ideologies in which the goals of a certain collective, such as a state, a nation, or a society, are given precedence over the goals of individuals.
Hundreds of those people have been charged. Law enforcement investigations are ongoing, and federal authorities say they expect to arrest at least 100 or so more. Bipartisan investigations are also underway and have been for months at the committee level here in the Senate. So there has been, and there will continue to be no shortage of robust investigations by 2 separate branches of the federal government. So, Mr. President, it's not at all clear what new facts or additional investigation yet another commission could actually lay on top of existing efforts by law enforcement and Congress. The facts have come out, and they'll continue to come out. What is clear is that House Democrats have handled this proposal in partisan bad faith, going right back to the beginning. From initially offering a laughably partisan starting point to continuing to insist on various other features under the hood that are designed to centralize control over the Commission's process and its conclusions in Democratic hands. I've been an outspoken critic about all of the episodes of political violence that our nation has seen over the past year. I support the strong existing investigations and justice for any American who's broken the law.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Tommy Nation Politics.
Socialism, communism, nationalism, and fascism are all collectivist ideologies. Orwell believed that a precondition for the rise of totalitarianism was the emergence of a collectivist social structure, as this permits the centralization of power needed to exert total societal control. Orwell's view of the connection between totalitarianism and collectivism has proved puzzling, as Orwell was a staunch leftist, a critic of capitalism, and a socialist. How could someone who favored socialism, a collectivist ideology, at the same time write a dystopian novel which portrays a collectivist society in such a horrific manner? To understand his position, it must first be realized that Orwell did not consider capitalism to be a viable system. It is not certain that socialism is in all ways superior to capitalism, he wrote, but it is certain that, unlike capitalism, it can solve the problems of production and consumption. Capitalism was such an inadequate system in Orwell's mind that, like many leftists of his day, he believed that it was on its deathbed and would soon be replaced by some form of collectivism. He saw this as inevitable. The issue for Orwell was what type of collectivism would take its place. The real question, he wrote, is whether capitalism, now obviously doomed, is to give way to oligarchy, totalitarianism, or to true democracy, democratic socialism. Following the impending death of capitalism, Orwell hoped that democratic socialism would be adopted in the West. Democratic socialists, like Orwell, advocated for a centrally planned economy, nationalization of all major industry, and a radical decrease in wealth inequality. They were also strong supporters of civil liberties such as freedom of speech and freedom of assembly, which they hoped could be maintained.
And we go now to Senator Bernie Sanders, who joins us from Burlington, Vermont. Good morning, Senator.
Morning, John.
I want to start in the Middle East. You have made the case that how the U.S. government responds in this ceasefire period says something about President Biden's commitment to human rights more broadly. And last Sunday, you wrote a piece in the New York Times that said the U.S. must stop being an apologist for the Netanyahu government. Since you wrote that, the president has been very supportive of Israel. Do you think the administration is being an apologist for the Netanyahu government?
Look, John, all that I think is that given the incredible suffering in Gaza, where we have a poverty rate of 56%, 70% of the young people are unemployed, and after the Israeli attacks, you have wastewater plants destroyed, clinics destroyed, hospitals destroyed. I think the United States has got to develop an even-handed approach to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. We have to be pro-Israel, but we have to be pro-Palestinian, and I hope and believe the president understands that. And I was delighted to see that he is moving forward to try to rebuild with the international community the destruction, rebuild Gaza after all of that destruction.
You mentioned an even-handed approach. When I read a portion of your editorial to the Prime Minister Netanyahu, he thought it was preposterous, your claim that he had created the conditions and that he'd made peace impossible, because he said, how do you have negotiations with Hamas? They are dedicated to the destruction of Israel. President Biden again said that this week when he said, until the region says unequivocally they acknowledge the right of Israel to exist as an independent Jewish state, there will be no peace. How do you have an even-handed approach to terrorists who want to destroy Israel?
Well, what you have got to do is also understand that over the years, the Netanyahu government has become extremely right-wing, and that there are people in the Israeli government now who are overt racists. You have in West Jerusalem people being evicted from their homes, tremendous pressure on people within Israel, the Arab community, as well as Gaza. So you have a very difficult situation. You have Hamas, a terrorist group. You have a right-wing Israeli government, and the situation is getting worse. And all that I'm saying is that the United States of America has got to be leading the world in bringing people together, not simply supplying weapons to kill children in Gaza. This last series of attacks killed 64 children, and destroyed a large part of the infrastructure of Gaza in a community that has already been one of the most uninhabitable territories in the world.
You have put forward legislation that would delay the sale of military equipment to Israel. Would you also put the same kind of conditions you'd like to see on that aid to Israel, on any aid the U.S. gives through the UN or otherwise to the Palestinians, to make sure that Hamas doesn't get any of it?
Absolutely. Look, Hamas is a terrorist, corrupt, authoritarian group of people, and we have got to stand up to them. But once again, our job is not simply to put more and more military support for Israel. It is to bring people together. And we can't do it alone. We need the international community. But that's what I think we need to be doing.
Let me ask you about how this has played out here at home. The Anti-Defamation League says there were 193 reports of anti-Semitic incidents this week, up from 131 the previous week. So that's during this period while the crisis began. In the past, you've said it should be possible to be a critic of Israeli policy but not be anti-Semitic. But it doesn't seem to be playing out that way with this uptick in random attacks.
Anti-Semitism is rising in America. It's rising all over the world. That is an outrage, and we've got to combat anti-Semitism. We have to combat the increase in hate crimes in this country against Asians, against African Americans, against Latinos. So we got a serious problem of a nation which is being increasingly divided, being led by right-wing extremists in that direction.
There are a number of liberals who use the word apartheid to describe Israel's treatment of the Palestinians. A number of them liberals in the House who use that language. The executive director of the American Jewish Congress, who handled Jewish outreach for your campaign, has said that word, Joel Rubin, has said that using that word has increased the level of vitriol that has contributed to this anti-Semitism. Do you think those who share your view should not use that kind of language?
Well, I think we should tone down the rhetoric. I think our goal is very simple. It is to understand that what's going on in Gaza today is unsustainable. When you have 70% of the young people unemployed, when people cannot leave the community, when hospitals and wastewater plants have been destroyed, that is unsustainable.
In a society which would largely deprive people of their economic freedoms. The problem, however, which Orwell and other socialists had to grapple with were the lack of examples, either past or present, of any countries successfully adopting democratic socialism. Even worse, the states that had turned to collectivism in the first half of the 20th century, such as Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia, were becoming increasingly totalitarian. They were adopting what Orwell called oligarchical collectivism, not democratic socialism. Oligarchical collectivism is a system in which an elite few, under the guise of a certain collectivist ideology, centralize power using force and deception. Once in power, these oligarchs crush not only the economic freedoms of their citizens, a move which socialists like Orwell favored, but also their civil liberties. Orwell was concerned that following the death of capitalism, the entire Western world would perhaps succumb to oligarchical collectivism. This fear was in part due to his perception that hedonism was on the rise in Western societies. Hedonism is an ethical position that maintains that life's ultimate goal should be the maximization of pleasure and the minimization of pain and discomfort. In an increasingly urban and consumerist West, Orwell believed that many people were structuring their lives in a hedonistic manner, and this did not bode well for the freedom of Western civilization. A hedonistic lifestyle, according to Orwell, weakens people. It makes them feeble and incapable of mounting any resistance to fanatical ideologues who desire to rule over society. This fear of Orwell's has proven unfounded up to this point. While the West, since his death in 1950, has in many respects become more hedonistic, this has not led to totalitarian dictators taking over control. Rather, Aldous Huxley, the author of another famous 20th century dystopian novel, Brave New World, may have had a better grasp of the way Western societies would become enslaved in the late 20th and early 21st centuries. Huxley, like Orwell, was an anti-hedonist, but his aversion to hedonism differed from Orwell's. Huxley's main concern was that hedonism could be used as an effective tool to oppress a society, Because people will willingly forego freedom in exchange for sensory pleasure and endless consumption.
And the job of the United States is to bring people together. And that is what we have got to try to do.
I want to switch to domestic affairs now. The president and Republicans have been going back and forth on this question of infrastructure. The president made another bid, shorten the price tag a little bit. But the central question of what infrastructure means, Republicans say roads and bridges, Democrats say it includes lots of other things in the environment, child care, elder care. Is that difference so big that it can't be fixed through bipartisan negotiations and Democrats should just go it alone?
Well, look, I think most working class Americans understand that for the last 40 years, what the government has done is cater to the needs of the wealthy and large corporations. Rich are becoming much richer, while real wages for average American workers
A society
have gone
can be
nowhere.
structured so that people can devote much of their time to pursuing pleasures, gratifying material wants, and even drugging themselves to escape from reality. Then persuasion and conditioning, rather than physical coercion, will be sufficient to exert extreme control over a society. Neil Postman, in his book Amusing Ourselves to Death, nicely contrasts the differing fears of Orwell and Huxley. What Orwell feared were those who would ban books. What Huxley feared was that there would be no reason to ban a book, for there would be no one who wanted to read one. Orwell feared that the truth would be concealed from us. Huxley feared the truth would be drowned in a sea of irrelevance. Orwell feared we would become a captive culture. Huxley feared we would become a trivial culture. In 1984, people are controlled by inflicting pain. In Brave New World, they are controlled by inflicting pleasure. In short, Orwell feared that what we fear will ruin us. Huxley feared that what we desire will ruin us. The West, it seems, finds itself in a situation somewhat analogous to what Huxley feared. For like the proverbial frog in boiling water, citizens in the West accept greater and greater intrusions into their freedoms and with little resistance. The overt physical coercion that Orwell thought would be required to enslave a society has so far proved unnecessary. Before dismissing Orwell's fears completely, however, it must be noted that Orwell was familiar with Huxley's position, and he did not deny that the hedonistic society Huxley feared was a possibility. But he saw it as a temporary stage, creating the ideal conditions for a more brutal regime to seize control and impose its will on society.
It was not the man's brain that was speaking, it was his larynx. The stuff that was coming out of him consisted of words, but it was not speech in the true sense. It was a noise uttered in unconsciousness like the quacking of a duck. Syme had fallen silent for a moment, and with the handle of his spoon was tracing patterns in the puddle of stew. The voice from the other table quacked rapidly on, easily audible in spite of the surrounding din. "There's a word in newspeak," said Syme. "I don't know whether you know it. Duck speak, to quack like a duck. It is one of those interesting words that have two contradictory meanings. Applied to an opponent, it's abuse. Applied to someone you agree with, it's praise." Unquestioningly, Syme would be vaporized, Winston thought. He thought of it with a kind of sadness, although well knowing that Syme despised him and slightly disliked him, and was fully capable of denouncing him as a thought criminal if he saw any reason for doing so. There was something subtly wrong with Syme. There was sort of something he lacked: discretion, aloofness, sort of saving stupidity. You could not say he was unorthodox. He believed in the principles of Ingsoc, he venerated Big Brother, he rejoiced over victories, he hated heretics, not merely with sincerity but with a sort of restless zeal, and up-to-dateness information which the ordinary party member did not approach. Yet a faint air of disreputability always clung to him. He said things that would have been better unsaid. He had read too many books, he frequented the Chestnut Tree Cafe, haunt of painters and musicians. There was no law, not even an unwritten law, against frequenting the Chestnut Tree Cafe, yet the place was somehow ill-omened. The old discredited leaders of the party had been used to gather there before they were finally purged. Goldstein himself, it was said, had sometimes been seen there, years and decades ago. Syme's fate was not difficult to foresee, and yet it was a fact that if Syme grasped, even for 3 seconds, the nature of his, Winston's, secret opinions, he would betray him instantly to the thought police. So would anyone else, for that matter, but Syme was more than most. Zeal was not enough. Orthodoxy was unconsciousness. Syme looked up. "Here comes Parsons," he said. Something in the tone of his voice seemed to add, "that bloody fool." Parsons, Winston's fellow tenant at Victory Mansions, was in fact threading his way across the room, a tubby, middle-sized man with fair hair and a frog-like face. At 35, he was already putting on rolls of fat at neck and waistline, but his movements were brisk and boyish. His whole appearance was that of a little boy grown large, so much so that although he was wearing the regulation overalls, it was almost impossible not to think of him as being dressed in the blue shorts,
hard to
gray shirt,
encapsulate
and
in a
red
sentence
neckerchief
how
of spies.
strange this is. Now you've intrigued me. What are the un-American ideas that are indoctrinating our youth?
He says the nation's wealthiest colleges are indoctrinating young people with what he calls un-American ideas. He is proposing a new tax targeting the largest private endowments. He says it would raise $2 billion a year.
Of inner party members who are the ruling elite and regular party members who are citizens. The party's leader, Big Brother, displays massive images of his kind throughout London. The images, complete with dark hair and a substantial mustache, often include the words, "Big Brother is watching you." Winston works in the records department of the Ministry of Truth, which handles all party literature and propaganda, altering or destroying documents from the party once published. He often throws evidence into a memory hole where it is sucked into the building's internal furnaces to ensure that the party's version of the past is never questioned.
Does the president believe that our largest, our wealthiest schools are indoctrinating our youth with un-American ideas? And would he support such a tax? Is it a good idea?
Now you've intrigued.
Which manages the production of party goods. These state-endorsed products include Victory cigarettes, Victory gin, and Victory coffee, all of which are of extremely poor quality. Winston has never quite accepted the party and its ideological principles of Ingsoc. He believes in an unalterable past and finds party politics reprehensible.
It's hard to encapsulate in a sentence how strange this is.
Hello? Hang on.
Oh my gosh.
Hello, Acacia. Staff members for Acacia, we'd like to, we are your employers. We are here to
There's lights on in there.
inspect the office. Could we please come in? I thought locks were immoral. I thought locks were for bigots. Yeah.
Wait,
walls were immoral.
This is immoral.
This is immoral.
I'm so offended. I'm offended. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I'm an American citizen. I pay your salary through the taxes that you collect from me through the IRS because I'm a tax-paying citizen of the United States. I'm a woman, I'm a female business owner, and I'm proud to be an American woman. And I do not support your socialist policies, and I do not support your murderous abortion policies. As a mother of 3 children, I'm appalled at New York's law.
What are the un-American ideas
and it needs
that
to
are
end, and it needs
indoctrinating
to stop now.
our youth?
You're bringing God's judgment on our country, and I'm against it,
Oh, he's not
as well as
specific
my
about
friends.
the indoctrination
so
by
you need to stop
leaders
being a
from
baby
universities.
and stop locking your door
Critical, for
and come
example,
out
the
and face the
1619
American
project
citizens that you
critical.
serve. If
It's
you
all
want to be a
about
big
race
girl,
theory.
you need to get rid of your diaper and come out and be able to talk to
that
the
there's a
American
liberal
citizens. Instead of us
bias
having
on
to use a
campus
flat,
that
a little flat.
targets conservatives. I think would be the way to put it.
What's he going to do with the money?
Oh, flappy,
He
flappy.
wants to use it for
This is like child
programs for
Bye bye. Bye bye, Ocasio-Cortez. Bye bye, baby. Bye bye, baby. Bye bye, little
job
baby.
training, those sorts of things.
Well, without much detail of where he thinks our youth
We're
are
going to
being
fix our sticky
indoctrinated
notes
sounds very
because you know what?
dangerous.
They have it
Although
wrong.
I don't think that,
you know, the kids
I don't
in
think we would
daycare
think
at
we
AOC's
believe
office,
that
they have it
educating
wrong. So they put
the
sticky
youth
notes
and leaders
on the
of
welcome
the
sign.
future
So
leaders
we
of
got
the
to make
country
sure
on
it's
systemic
right.
racism
No, we're not
is
going to mess them up.
indoctrination.
Those are her
Actually
notes.
responsible.
Those
But
are her
I would say if he's trying to raise money for something,
so we're going to
then
make
our
sure
view
that it
is
shows
there's
the
lots of ways to do
welcome
that.
sign because
We know
everyone's
that a
welcome
number
in
of
America.
corporations hugely benefited
That was a
financially during the
mistake.
pandemic. They could pay more taxes. We think the highest 1% of Americans can pay more taxes. And if he wants to have a conversation about worker training, we'd love to have him. over and
Illegals
have
are
that
welcome,
conversation.
and babies are murdered. But here at her office, that was covered up. Ocasio-Cortez, she went and hid. She couldn't clean and know that people are welcome. I'm looking for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's office. Somebody had a great point that I need to see Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib here. Hey, look, as a woman, I do not want to have to wear a burqa one day. I need to go talk to these women.
Yes,
Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. All kinds of notes. All right, where do we find them? This way. Oh, we can leave her a note.
This is like.
Yeah, I need to go talk to them about. This looks like progressive feminist, maybe Planned Parenthood. Everyone is so terrified of us. Came and visited. We have our own security guy. We're going to ask her if Common Core math helped get her through college. And Trump.
Socialism sucks.
Add this to it.
The response to losing that election in 2016 was to introduce this bill to cause millions of illegal immigrants to be registered to vote for Democrats, to cause felons and criminals to be registered
They locked the door.
to vote for
Wait,
Democrats.
what?
This is a brazen power grab by the Democrats because you've decided democracy isn't worth it. You want to fix the game so the voters don't have control over our election.
Okay, so I have so much issues with what you just said because I'm thinking back to 2016 when, in fact, Hillary
we are
Clinton
your employers.
succeeded.
We are here to
lights on in there.
inspect the office. Could we please come in?
And the main goals of the party until they both.
I thought locks were for bigots.
Yeah.
Wait,
Laws were immoral.
this is immoral.
This is immoral.
I'm so offended. I'm offended. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I'm an American citizen. I pay your salary through the taxes that you collect from me through the IRS because I'm a tax-paying citizen of the United States. I'm a woman, I'm a female business owner, and I'm proud to be an American woman. And I do not support your socialist policies, and I do not support your murderous abortion policies. As a mother of 3 children, I'm appalled.
Separated and brought to the Ministry of Love. While in a holding cell, Winston realizes that O'Brien was never part of the underground movement, but actually works in the Ministry of Love. Winston is violently tortured at first, and he is forced to admit to a litany of
in New
crimes
York's
he did
law
not
for
commit,
abortion, and it needs to
including
end, and it
murder
needs to
and
stop now.
espionage.
You're bringing God's
O'Brien
judgment
begins
on
to
our
break
country,
Winston's
and I'm
spirit,
against it
telling
as
him
well
that
as my
his memory
friends.
is flawed
So you
and
need to
that
stop
he
being
is
a baby
insane.
and stop locking your door
party,
and come out
O'Brien
and face
explains
the
with
American
lunatic
citizens that you
intensity,
serve. If you
seeks
want to be a
absolute
big girl,
power for
you need to
power's
get rid
own
of your
sake.
diaper and
This
come
is
out and be
why
able to
it will
talk to the
always be
American citizens
successful.
instead of us having
Is
to use a
always
flap,
right,
a little flap.
and will ultimately control the
Stab.
entire world.
She keeps flapping.
Winston cannot
Oh,
argue
flappy, flappy.
as he faces obstacles
This is
and
this is like child
illogical
games.
fallacies, all
Bye
while
bye.
being
Bye
subjected
bye,
to torture.
Ocasio-Cortez. Bye
Little
bye,
by
baby.
little,
Bye
O'Brien
bye,
shows
baby.
Winston
Bye bye, little
with the
baby
use of
girl.
electric shock machines, beatings, and starvation, the way of the party. He forces Winston to accept.
We're going to
that if
fix
the
her
party
sticky
says
notes
so,
because you know what?
2 +
They
2
have it wrong.
equals 5.
You know, the kids in daycare at
Broken
AOC's
to the
office,
core,
they have it
Winston
wrong.
finally
So they put the
submits to
sticky
his
notes
re-education.
on the welcome sign.
He
So
is
we
no
got to make
longer
sure it's
beaten,
right.
is
No, we're not
fed
going to mess
regular
them up.
intervals,
Those are her
and is
notes.
allowed to sleep
Those are her
the
feel-good, be
delights
special
never go
notes.
out.
So we're going to
Although
make
he
sure that
seems
it
to
shows the
accept the
welcome
party's
sign because
reality,
everyone's welcome in
Winston
America.
still clings to the last remaining
That was a
kernel of
mistake.
himself and his humanity,
We gotta
his
fix
love
let's
for
fix
Julia.
this. Nope, not
O'Brien
destroying them at all.
attempts to force Winston to betray Julia. He takes
Illegals
Winston
are
to
welcome,
room 101,
and babies are
containing
murdered.
the worst thing in the world.
But here at
which
her
is different
office,
for
that was
everyone.
covered up.
Winston is
She's a
bound
big
to
girl.
chair
She needs to
where
keep
O'Brien
things
attaches a
clean
masked
and know
coach
that
to
people are
his
welcome.
face. The contraption contains huge, hungry, and carnivorous rats. Winston feels a desperate.
I need to see Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib.
He cannot.
Hey,
take
look,
it,
as a woman,
and finally
I do not
screams
want to
for
have to wear a
O'Brien to put
burqa one day.
someone
I
else
need to
in
go
his
talk to
place.
these women.
Anyone,
Rashida Tlaib
even Julia.
and Ilhan Omar.
O'Brien has
All right, where do we
succeeded
find
in
them?
brainwashing
This way.
his subordinate. Winston, a damaged,
Yeah, I need to go talk to them
changed,
about my rights.
empty shell of a man, is released into the
the
world.
election, when in fact
It
we
is-
had an
Everyone is so
electoral
terrified
college.
of us.
I know because
We have our
Senator
own
Blunt
security
and I
guy
were in charge of
following us
it,
everywhere we
and
go.
And now it's time to play everyone's favorite game. Is this like the Nazis?
Hey guys, this is Tommy. with Tommy
Yeah,
Nation
is this like the
Politics.
Nazis or what? Tommy Nation Politics. Line of sight. He who has eyes, let him see. He who has ears, fuck it. Let them hear. Guys, I have an announcement to make here. Let's see. This is Tommy. Tommy Nation Politics.
Restream, no more glitching. I had to restart this restream. That's why I'm up so late, guys. I did not plan on streaming live at 1:27 a.m. It was the restream. I paid him too. You see how these corporations are? They don't care if you pay them or not. You really are just you're the product. You are the product. Well, maybe not us. We're free-thinking, innovative, totally open-minded people here at Tommy Nation Politics. I hope everyone can hear me. I was having some problems with my live stream last time, so I restarted it. That's the thing you do, guys. You start over. Start clean. Start fresh. You don't take a broken system and try to fix it. What you do is you throw the system out and get a system that works. When the mattress is shitty and pissed on, do you sleep on that mattress, guys? Do you put a little laminated? You probably do, don't you? You guys probably are the kind of people that put your dirty, shitty mattress, you laminate that shit. You don't even buy a new one. It's tradition. Why would we buy a new mattress that this one's pissed and shitted on? It's completely all right, though, because we can laminate that shit. Let's not buy a new mattress. That's the American way, guys. The American way is don't get a new system. Fix the systemically racist, broken system that gives more wealth to the 1% than the bottom 90% combined. Give this system, the systemically racist system, with income inequality, not seen since the Gilded Age. Give that system a makeover. We tried it, guys. We tried it. Nine times. 9 presidents. 40 years of neoliberal policies, guys. 40 years of neoliberal policies. What did it do? Well, I'll tell you what it did. Didn't make a shining beacon on a hill like Mr. What's his name said. Reagan. Everybody thinks Reagan's so awesome. I don't know why. Reagan started the neoliberal policies. He encouraged the Democrats to be neoliberals in the first place. It's all very sad. You know what's not sad, guys? What's not sad is there's a few of you, a handful, that it truly is a resistance. You truly are the resistance, guys. Just want to let y'all know that. You truly are the resistance. You're free-thinking, you're innovative, you're totally open-minded. You're probably sending me messages on www.tommynationpolitics.com. Clicking the bell for notifications. You're probably going to my Facebook page. We're keeping in constant contact about the fascism that's going on here, guys. When these politicians who don't work for us at all. In fact, since Citizens United, they do not work for us. Money is now speech. So think about that, guys. Are you speaking to these politicians anymore? No. You know who is? Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey. Let me ask you a question. If you guys were in trouble, would Jack Dorsey rip from the New York Post off a story about a laptop that you lost that contains child porn? No, because you don't have any speech. Money speech. Money speech now. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, don't establish justice, promote the general welfare, secure the blessings to ourselves and our posterity. No. Bill Gates does. He has the patent. So does Bezos. Mark Zuckerberg, well, he's just a posted place. Is he going to be a public utility? No, he's not. Because he pays him to. Do you pay him? Well, then why do you even vote? At this point, guys, I'm done with the holding your hand, honestly, arguing with partisans about their innate, unsubstantiated, illogical thoughts and reasoning. I'm no longer going to deal with it anymore. I'm going to crack some skulls, and I'm also going to be a very big ass thorn in your side, neoliberals. If you want to do a full 180 back to neoliberal policies, like we ever left, guess who's going to be your number one motherfucking thorn in your side? It's going to be Tommy Nation Politics. Free thinking, innovative, open-minded. That's right, guys. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like the expanded wars. I don't like the shortages of food in the richest country of the world. I don't like the evictions crises that are looming over the American public. I don't like the 8 million people that slipped into poverty. during the pandemic without health care. I don't like living in a country where marijuana is a Schedule 1 drug and Pfizer gets to have a government contract. I don't like living in a country where the president is a dementia-riddled old man who is losing in a negotiation with the Mexican president on how many refugees from the cartels because of our drug war are going to come back into this country. I don't like living in a country that accepts the status quo, that accepts business as usual, that accepts two views only, no more, no less. It's time, guys, to call it out. It's time to call you out if you believe that. You know what you are? You're an animal. There's no other way to say it, guys. You are an animal. Baby, I'm preying on you tonight. Hunt you down, eat you alive. Just like animals, like animals, walls. There's a thing that you try to do to me. It's like you can't stop. But I get so high when I'm inside you. Hey, it's like a drug, it's killing me. I felt you out entirely. But I get so high when I'm inside you. And you start over, you run free. By another person to say, you can pretend it's meant to be, but you can't stay away from me. I can still hear you making that sound, leaving me down, boy, you can love now. You can pretend that it was me, but no. Baby, I'm preying on you tonight. Hunt you down, eat you alive. Just like animals, like animals, walls. There's nothing that you can hide. I can smell your scent for miles. Just like animals, just animals, walls. So if you run, it's not enough. It's in your head, forever stuff. Do what you wanna do. Hey, I love your lies, I mean them up. I can't deny the animal, but I get so high when I'm inside you. Yeah, you can start over, you can run free. Find another person to say. You can pretend it's meant to be, but you can't stay away from me. I can still hear you making that sound, living me down, boy, in the love now. You can pretend that it was me, but no. Oh, baby, I'm preying on you tonight. Hunt you down, eat you alive. Just like animals, walls. There's nothing that you can hide. I can smell your scent for miles. Just like animals, walls. And tell no lie, la la la. I can't deny, na na na. The beast inside, sigh. You can't deny, na na na. You can't deny. The beast inside, sigh. Hey. Whoa. You're gonna let these Democrats and Republicans fucking run all over us like animals, wolves. We're owned by wolves, run by pigs, a nation of sheep. Baby, I'm hunt you down, eat you alive. Animals, y'all, animals, walls. There's nothing that you can hide. I can smell your scent for miles. Just like animals, like animals, whoa. You can't no lie, la la la. You can't deny, na na na. The beast inside, sigh. Hey. You can't no lie, la la la. You can't deny, na na na. The beast inside, sigh. Hey. That's what y'all is. Y'all animals. You're gonna let the Democrats and Republicans walk all over us? Hell to the no, guys. Hell to the no, no, no. Guys, when it comes to... Sorry, I was on my song there. Guys, when it comes to the Democrats and Republicans, guys, it's like y'all animals. Animals. Y'all animals. You'll just let them do whatever they want. Board, some people chase whistleblowers all over the, Europe. Behead journalists, our own allies, the Saudis. The Saudis are so nice. So's Israel. Airstrikes in Gaza. The only thing that they thought is healing, guys, is not a New Deal. It's not a Green New Deal. It's not a minimum wage increase. It's not legalizing marijuana. It's not getting rid of the drug war that caused the cartels so much wealth that they became kings in the South and now cause refugees to flow to our country. Our drug war. No, the wounds that are cut and are not healed are not that of the American working class whose jobs were outsourced during the recession, whose houses were lost in the bailouts of 2008 in Occupy Wall Street. Those are not the wounds that healed. The wounds that have not healed is Nancy Pelosi's laptop in her mailbox. Somebody sat in Mike Pence's chair. Oh my God, the people. You're at the people's house. Get out of here. Get out of the people's house. I have news for you guys. The people haven't lived in that house for a long time. Not for a long time. House Democrats have now sent to the Senate a long-awaited response to the January 6th insurrection. Why? They can smell your Dracnor on Mike Pence's chair. You nasty pores. How dare you come to the people's house? You think the woman who has tent cities in her own district wants wants Cracker Jack over there looking at her laptop? She's probably got all these nice Van Gogh paintings that she got from the Nazis. You know that she did. You know that she collects some kind of weird ass shit like that. Nancy Pelosi, she's so rich. She's been a public servant for 20 years. Her net worth is $200 million. Serving you. She made $200 million serving you. How much did you get? What did you get from her serving you? She got $200 million. What did you get? Y'all animals. House Appropriations Chair Rosa DeLauro. Oh, it's Hispanic. Hey, y'all relate to that? Press 1. Please press 1 if you do. Take the survey if you do. Released a $1.9 billion emergency funding bill that would provide tens of millions of dollars to the Capitol Police Department. Oh, the police. They always need more money. I mean, the whole reason that they're shooting black people and they're just fucking up, they're thinking a taser is a gun. The whole reason they do that is because they're not paid enough. If we just paid them more. It's so funny, guys. It's so funny how the reaction to the cops when they're shooting black people is we need to pay the cops more. And then when people don't go back to work, when they're making more on a enhanced unemployment, they're lazy. You see that, guys? Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? So the reason that the cops suck is because we don't pay them enough, but people are lazy to stay on enhanced unemployment. So amazing. Why? Because they're not contributing to society? You know what? I will take all the contributing to society that Derek Chauvin has contributed, and I'll shove it up his ass, and I'll kick you in the ass. These little soliloquies, these little syllogisms, these little talking points, mainstream media, conventional wisdom, and social norms, these are all bullshit lines. Like the most famous ones. Shining beacon on a hill, where there were no weapons of mass destruction. Weapons of mass destruction. Let me see, what were some more bullshit lines? We have nothing to fear but fear itself. Oh, there's a lot to be afraid of. There's a border crisis. And there's also our president. Joe Biden. How did he get to the top? Well, he had 25 neoliberals coalesce around him. And then he had his daddy, Barack Obama, call everyone and promise them things. I bet he didn't even do it himself. because he couldn't even remember who he was talking to. He needs scripts, and he needs to make sure that he doesn't get in trouble. Please, I don't want to get in trouble. Please, I'm the leader of the free world. I can't get in trouble. I command the most powerful military on the face of the earth the world has ever seen, but I can't get in trouble. Please don't ask me some questions on my press conferences. Please don't do that. Questions? No, I could drone strike Syria, but I can't answer questions on a press conference. Are you surprised? No, I'm not. Told you so, neoliberals. Let's just get this straight right now. This is 2021, May, right? 2021. We got one more year. We got November in the midterms. Next presidential election, when the same thing happens, when Nancy Pelosi is running, and for some reason, nobody likes her. Nobody wants to vote for her. She still gets the nomination. And the white liberals tell you to hold your nose and vote for Nancy Pelosi because she's better than whatever the fuck they're going to come up with at the other side. And you're supposed to vote for someone who left the HEROES Act, a piece of legislation that was going to help the American people at the bar with their keys. You're going to hold your nose and you're going to vote for 10 cities in their own district. And that's going to be a better choice. Guys, literally, this act has to stop. I'm onto the game. And I need you to be onto the game too. We need to stop listening to these people. They're not important. They're irrelevant. They don't even rely on logical reasoning. They think that Joe Biden is going to do something progressive. He's never done anything progressive in his entire life. He's not going to start now. He's 79 years old. So you're saying there's a chance. They're just like that Dumb and Dumber people. Oh, how much of a chance could Joe Biden do a minimum wage? Well, probably 1 in a million. So you're saying there's a chance. They're literally dumb and dumber. Guys, look, I know that we were all at the rallies, the Bernie Sanders rallies, and I know we were all just like kicking it. Most of them were at Hillary Clinton rallies. Let's be real. Let's be real. They didn't expect Bernie to win. They just saw the excitement in the crowds, and they saw all of the fucking people coming together because the Bernie Sanders rallies were beautiful. I stood with rednecks, gays, transsexuals. We were all celebrating Nina Turner, Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard. They were all there. It was church. It was like church because I'm not really religious. I know the stories, but I'm not really religious. But that was church, guys, because we were all here for the same reason. I'm like, hey, what's up, gangsters? We were united. It took two neoliberals named Hillary Clinton who said that Bernie Bros were horrible, and then she wrote some shit, and then the Bezos press, Washington Post picked it up, and Bernie Bros. And then it took 25 neoliberals coalescing around Joe Biden, and then at the convention, they destroyed the progressive movement. They did. Let's just be real. At the Democratic convention in 2020, they destroyed us. We not only lost, we lost when Joe Biden was on the verge of becoming a nominee. When he became the nominee, the progressive movement officially died. And I guess in order for the denial, because some of us are still in denial about it, some of us don't even know what progressive values really are. These progressive values are that everyone has an opportunity to succeed. It's not about hating white people. That's not it. Everyone has an opportunity to succeed. Not me, us. It's not about banning menthol cigarettes. It's that everyone has life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. It's not about paying more in taxes. It's about having separating your health care from your job so you're not a slave to a shitty employer, like a sharecropper in a free land. It's not about the FDA certifications. It's not about the Pfizer government contracts. It's not about the gun sales, because we are the biggest gun manufacturer in the entire world. It's not about our president moving more merchandise of guns, of weapons of war and weapons of death than any lord of war could possibly move. It's not about the president of our country being the most murderous psychopath since Jimmy Carter. All of our presidents have been murdering psychopaths since Jimmy Carter. Yes. That's what I'm saying. Reagan started it. Jimmy Carter negotiated with terrorists. Reagan destroyed the poor. And then Walter Mondale tried to run. He got wiped out because the people have spoken. The masses, as you just saw in my video, the masses of people, they agree that only the most slimy, murderous psychopath can be our president. From now on, Jimmy, you peanut farmer, bitch. We're going to only let the most murderous, psychopathic, narcissistic megalomaniacs be our leaders of the free world now. So ever since then, we've had psycho murdering rapists as president. That's what happened, guys. So Joe Biden is a corrupt, murderous empire lackey. He is also a very normal U.S. president. The same is true for Trump. The same was true for Obama. The same was true of Bush. If you can't see this, it's because propaganda and partisan politics have warped your perception of reality. U.S. presidents will not ever do what you want. Reagan got shot. Yes, they did. They tried. They really tried. That was the only one without the FBI. Welcome, Sony Manwalk. Sony Manwalk. Is this day? What is that? Had a wife? Welcome to Tommy Nation Politics. We're free thinking, innovative, open-minded. I appreciate your comments, man. You're right. Honey forgot to duck. You're mean, bro. But I like you. You know what? It's hard not to even. It's hard to root for these guys. You know what I'm saying? In fact, I don't. I wish only nothing but the destruction and deaths. I retract that because of the FCC and Mark Zuckerberg, and I don't want to violate any community standards or, there's no individual anymore. There's only the community, just like in 1984, guys. That's why I'm doing this live stream. I just want y'all to see that collectivism has reared its ugly head, and just like George Orwell prophesized, when you get a whole bunch of yahoos together believing in fake shit, like a free market or capitalist, even though these vulture capitalists have extracted, raped, pillaged, and polluted our entire country, they still look at these guys as their saviors. They look at their rapists as their helpers. They have full-fledged Stockholm syndrome, these partisans, guys. So it's time for us to stop listening to them. It's time for us to regard them as the radicals they are. They're called moderates. They call themselves moderates or centrists. They're not. They're the most radical of radical. They look at kids dying in Gaza, and they don't care. They think of it as some kind of aid, foreign aid that we're giving Israel. Oh, we got to be fair. Palestine and Israel. We got to be fair. We have to be objective. So that's where we're at, guys. We're at the fair and objective stage. So we were a shining beacon on a hill. We were Judeo-Christian values. Now we're like we were liberating the Middle East, right? Democracy, freedom and democracy. Now, guys, we're just we're neutral. We're totally objective. On the issues of morality, we're objective. On the issues of the drug war, we're objective. Except we're going to fire all of these people that smoke pot in our fucking administration. Joe Biden did that. Joe Biden did that. Yeah, he's going to do something progressive anytime now, guys. Also, guys, they're sniping their political enemies. So a judge has ordered, this is Politico, a judge has ordered that one of the most prominent lobbyists of the Trump era, Barry Bennett, have his business assets partially frozen, according to the court filings made known by Politico. Earlier this month, a court sent Bennett formal notice that a default judgment was entered against him, meaning he did not comply with court orders. He is liable and remaining. He's got more legal issues. He's going to get censured. He might get disbarred, and who knows? He might actually get he might have contempt for the rule of law. It's so funny. Whoever's in power, guys, they're always talking about the rule of law. Have you noticed whoever's in power talks about the rule of law? Why? It's their law. Are these laws moral? No. These laws have never been moral. Law and morality are two completely different things, just so you know. So if I were to break the law, would I be immoral? No, I wouldn't be. Morals and law have nothing to do with each other. Law and society correlate because law dictates the behavior of society. What morality does is dictate the principles and values within yourself. And our inalienable rights were life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. So just think about that, guys. Are laws moral? No, they're not. No law is moral. A law is a man-made restriction or curvature on society. So think about that, guys, when you're doing logic. When you're talking about Joe Biden doing progressive things, even though he's never done one, even though he incarcerated half of my race in the 90s, even though he literally was paid by prisons to do that, even though he socialized with the most vile white supremacists, Robert Byrd, even though he was friends with the most vile racists, even though he apparently, according to his own words, attacked a black guy at a pool. Hey, Esther, off the diving board. You know the thing. Look, buddy. Yeah, Trump's so racist. I love you guys. How you talk about how Trump is so racist for 4 years. Then you literally take the most racist Democrat I've ever met. Joe Biden is the most racist Democrat I've ever seen. And you make him the president. Are you slapping me in the face completely? Is this what you really think of Black lives? When you say Black Lives Matter, is this what you're really saying? Black lives are stupid? We think you're... I mean, some of us are. We're people, but I'm not. I ain't no N-word. That's right, guys. I'm not saying it today. Dude, what's replacing capitalists? Well, that's a good Sony man walk. That's a good question. What's replacing capitalism? That's a great question. Is collectivism. So Orwell in 1984 said that we were all going to be in a collective. We wouldn't have no thoughts or opinions of our own. We would have the parties. He said the parties view. Now you look at 2021. There's only two views. There's a Democratic view. There's a Republican view. Most leftists who are not religious have literally forsaken any principles and values. Stop fighting for progressive policies and they regard the Democratic Party or whatever party as their religion now. I mean, when you're talking to them, you understand that they can do no wrong. They prop up these leaders, these racist warmongers, as if they were literally like part of their own family. Oh, Joe's not like that anymore. Literally, it's weird, guys. I don't know how it's happened. Joe Biden in 2002, the Democrats were having this thing about whether or not George W. Bush should go into Iraq. And they were like, well, we shouldn't give him absolute powers because Congress has the power to declare war. Joe Biden literally separated from his party to give absolute, I guess you absolutes, controls. He gave him absolute power to go based on a mandate of terror, which is an abstract concept. Terror. It was a war on terror, guys. A war on terror could mean anything. And that's exactly what they intended. Isn't that crazy? And that's how the Patriot Act came. Do you know how that happened? It was the 9/11 style commission. It was the commission to investigate the 9/11 attacks. With that commission, they established the Patriot Act and they established the Guantanamo Bay. You know, that facility off of the United States land so that we wouldn't be war criminals to torture people. That was established in the 9/11 commission. Now they're doing another 9/11 style commission, guys. Except the Republicans are kind of backing off because the Democrats are far beyond corrupt now. It's been 20 years since corrupt. They're 20 years past corrupt, the Democrat Party. They're investigating every single Republican in the Senate. Why? Because they know they're going to lose the Senate. Why? Because they haven't done anything for the American people. In fact, they're allowing states to cancel enhanced unemployment early. Joe Biden's not doing anything about it. Joe Biden's not doing anything about Israel and Gaza. He's not doing anything. And why? Well, he told his real owners, his real constituency, that nothing will fundamentally change. He kept his promise to his real constituency. You are a cuck. You are a schmuck. You want me to hold my nose and vote for this warmonger racist? I will never even consider it. I never did. They were telling me back in Hillary. Oh, just vote for her. She's better than Trump. Really? Did Trump make Libya a slave state? You guys don't even operate on logic. You guys. You really don't. I keep waiting for you to give me a logical reason. It never happens. Y'all never give me a logical reason to vote for these guys. Ever. You never do. I always ask, why should I vote for Hillary? Well, Bernie told me to. Okay, real. Well, what about why I should vote for it? Like, what am I going to get out of it? Nothing. I get nothing out of it. Am I supposed to be happy about that? Because she's not Trump? Because she has nasty woman mugs the next day after he calls her a nasty woman? He's promoting it. It's a WWF fight. They're both getting rich off of it. 1% own more wealth than the bottom 90% combined. And there's an income inequality gap. Nothing fundamentally changes. Why would I vote for these guys? And yet, I'm the bad guy. And yet, Tulsi Gabbard, because, she doesn't like the Democratic Party since they destroyed her. Literally, you guys. What 1984? All of your quacking, it's not even real speak. It's old. It's not even old speak. It's, what do they call it? It's new speak. It's the new speak. It's the 1984 speak. It's the commission speak. It's the FBI talking points speak. It's the CIA agenda speak. It's the John Brennan, Rachel Maddow speak. It's the undermine our elections, interfere with our democracy speak. I'm onto your game. I'm onto it. I don't care how much you cry about me not voting for your puppets of the rich. Never gonna happen, guys. And but the thing that worries me more is that we really need to get Sody man walk. We need not only do we need to laugh at these radical fascists, these racists, these sociopaths, these followers of the puppets of the rich, who are cucks. It's the only thing you are. If you're a follower of a puppet, then you're a cuck. They're allowing, not only because Joe Biden sanctioned all of their behavior now, they're allowing Gates to have patents on life-saving drugs. They're allowing Mark Zuckerberg to have anonymity over his technocratic empire. They're allowing Jack Dorsey to unequivocally ban Trump, the former president of the United States, from Twitter. They're allowing corporations to run rampant over our liberties and pursuit of happiness. The corporations now dictate our behaviors, guys. And with that in mind, the handbooks that you have, the behavioral training, the sexual misconduct seminars, the contracts, the fine print, it's all now there's no clock out for that, guys. It's 24/7, 24/7. 24/7 handbooks, 24/7 contracts, 24/7 seminars, 24/7 meetings, 24/7 no coffee breaks either. 24/7. So my dad used to always tell me it could always get worse. Every time I complained, I now understand what he said. What he meant. It could. It really could, because it has. It's gotten worse. It's gonna get even more worse. Now. We have people turning in people from the insurrection. Family members of people that were at the insurrection, turning people in, just like the Nazis, bro. If you think it's good to turn in a family member for any reason, because of a man-made law that was voted on, passed by corrupt Congress, and it was forced and infiltrated. I can't even. Judicial branch. What do? They execute the laws, right? So they're dogs that kill black people. So that's a law. You're turning in people for the law of a man that's corrupt, and the dogs. And you think you're okay. You think you're a good person when you do that. I don't. I see exactly what you are. You're not even a person. You're not even a person. Just so you know, if you turn in your family members that were in the insurrection because of a law, because they took Nancy Pelosi's laptop or sat in Mike Pence's chair of the elites, if they spoke truth to power, I don't even agree with what they were talking about. But if they spoke truth to power, that's America right there. That's all I have to say. I don't give a shit what they said. They spoke truth to it. Their truth to it. Fuck it. That's the people's truth. That's what I'm saying. When are we going to get back? When are we going to get our ownership back? If we don't, guys, it's going to get way worse. I want you guys to think about that. I want you guys to think about this. The last warning of Orwell, he was talking about the last thing they're going to ask you to do, which is literally happening right now. Because, we have income inequality since the Gilded Age. 90% of the country lives paycheck to paycheck. We have no health care during a pandemic. And we're all fighting like Marjorie Taylor Greene and AOC. Like it matters. Like these people care about us. They don't. They don't give a shit about us. The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was the final, most essential command. His heart sank as he thought of the enormous power arrayed against him, the ease with which any party intellectual would overthrow him in a debate, the subtle arguments which he would not be able to understand, much less answer, and yet he was in the right. They were wrong, but it didn't matter. It wasn't part of the community standards and guidelines. It was the big lie. It was undermining our elections and interfering with our democracy. Do you see what's happening, guys? If you don't see what's happening, well, all I have to say is I need to find the guys that know what's happening, because we can't let it happen. That's what Orwell said. He said we can't let it happen. I do not intend to have it happen, guys. What they want to happen, which is total control. It's not enough for us to be poor anymore. We're too rambunctious. We're insurrecting. We're doing Wall Street bets against the owners of our country, the Wall Streeters. When we did those Wall Street bets, guys, and we made Wall Street pay and look like fools, do you know what we said to the establishment? We made them scared. They don't lose a lot. Now, anybody who's anybody is in trouble. Anybody it's the big lie. You're a Russian asset. You're interfering with our elections. You're undermining our democracy. Do you guys see what's about to happen with this next 9/11 style fucking commit? Like, I know what's about to happen next. Because 2001, we literally lost our Fourth Amendment. Which one are they going to take this time? I'm wondering. Which one are they going to take this time? The first. The first. Obviously. They don't want us to keep talking. Obviously, they don't want us to violate the community standards. You're killing my children. They don't want it. You know, likey. They don't like not having control over our mouths. It's not good, bro. Not good at all. So, guys, remember what Orwell said. Don't hide your lying eyes. Girls, no way to hide your lying eyes. Just kidding. I always gotta sing, I know. I'm fucking annoying.
But he left one final warning. 1984 is...
I'm going to answer your question I'm going to answer your question after this.
So terrifying, in fact, I don't think I should like to read another like it.
I'm not absolutely dissatisfied with it. I think it is a good idea, but the execution would have been better if I had not been under the influence of TB when I wrote it.
You once claimed that you have an ability to face unpleasant facts. Is that what you've demonstrated in 1984 by drawing an accurate portrait of the future?
I think that allowing for the book being, after all, a parody, something like 1984 could actually happen. This is the direction the world is going in at the present time. In our world, there will be no emotions except fear, rage, triumph, and self-abasement. The sex instinct will be eradicated. We shall abolish the orgasm. There will be no loyalty except loyalty to the party. But always there will be the intoxication of power. Always, at every moment, there will be the thrill of victory, the sensation of trampling on an enemy who is helpless. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face. forever.
My solution is don't vote for Republicans and Democrats. We need to get organized, just like we did when the Boston Tea Party, when we dressed as Indians and threw the tea over and said no taxation without representation. We were organized. The left and the right, they worked together for the common good. That's right, guys. There was a left and a right back in the day. Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton were completely different minded. Completely. So was Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton. I said that right. Yeah. They were the centralized government, non-centralized government. They agreed about one thing, though, that King George was an asshole. Do you know what happened after that? The Philadelphia Convention, in which a whole entire 13 colonies who were completely different in every way had their own culture, their own money. These 13 colonies had their own money. That's how separate they were. They all said in the common good of a United States, they said, you know what? We establish justice. We promote the general welfare. We secure the blessings of ourselves and our posterity. And they overthrew a monarch. There's nothing we can't do when we are together. We're not. That's why they divide us. They don't ever want us to be together because they know what happens when we are. We need to stop voting for Republicans and Democrats. Stop listening to them. Listen to us. Listen to ourselves. Listen to ourselves here with our own ears, and not the Democratic or Republican ears, but ours. And see with our own eyes, not the party's eyes. In my eyes, these parties have failed. They were a failed experiment that should never have happened in the first place. They were not written into the Constitution. They are not supposed to exist, these parties. They are an abomination to our country. These Republicans, the Republicans and the Democrats are a literal abomination to the United States. They must be expelled. They must be erased. They must be trashed. I don't care how we do it. We can vote for we can all vote for libertarians. We can do a constitutional amendment. I don't care. The first thing we need to do is take the trash out. The first thing we need to do, if there's a thorn in your shoe and you're still walking with a thorn, you're a dumbass. Take the thorn out of your shoe. That's the first thing we need to do. I don't know how we can all do that, or the majority can. I know 30% of the country votes partisan. There's actually 40% of the country that doesn't vote at all. They know the jig is up. They know they're not listening. They know they don't give a shit. But 30% of the country is hardcore brainwashed, no matter what. I don't know what to do with that. I know that I wish that the right wingers at the insurrection people, I wish they had balls. And they did something else besides steal mailboxes. I wish they made these traitors, these tyrants, actually pay. They didn't. They just made them all look like fools. All look like fools. That's why they're giving $10 billion to the Capitol Police. $10 billion, right? Yeah. They don't ever want that happening. In fact, yeah, the dogs are, yeah. So our time is running short, guys. And we should have fucking done something then. That would have been the perfect time. You know, if the left wing was involved in that insurrection, maybe we could have done something. Maybe like while the right wing is like, yeah, we got in the fucking there, we used our fucking brain, our beats. Then the left wing is like, hey, man, guillotines would sound really good right now, right? That's what, like, see what would happen if we worked for the common good, guys? The right wing breaks in, and then the left wing is like, yeah, there's all these guillotines around here from the French Revolution. Damn, we should use those. That's the common good, guys. Remember that? Let's get back to that shit. We got some problems to deal with. I ain't going to no dystopia. I ain't being in no Handmaid's Tale. I'm not going to be on the wall because I'm gay and black and definitely free-thinking, innovative, and open-minded. I'm staying in a country that gives a shit about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Inalienable rights, God-given. Only God can judge me. That's what they said, together in one voice. Do we still have what it takes? Do we still have our founding fathers' ancestral blood of rebellion within us? Or are we cucks and cowards? Are we bending the knee? Are we accepting mainstream media, conventional wisdom, and social norms? It's up to us. It is. Orwell said it. I tell you that. And I'm going to fight till the last day, my last day, on that shit. Because I ain't living in no country like this, where the fucking politicians, the pigs, the puppets of the rich rule us in a shadow government of a cabal of oligarchs. It's embarrassing. How we got started, guys. How we got started was the blood of tyrants watered the tree of liberty. That's what it was like. I'm going with that. I ain't going with no. Joe Biden's a good man. He rides the trains in Delaware. Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. And fuck you. I'm just gonna be real. And I also not only fuck that shit and fuck you, but I've had enough of that shit. And I'm gonna crack your fucking skull open. And the next time we go back to the people's house to take our house back, Nancy, you might need to wear a scarf. Guys, the reality that COVID doesn't exist. Tommy Nation Politics.